Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. After taking yesterday off, in the words of Michael Jeffrey Jordan, I'm back.
Tony Kornheiser, wait, you weren't here yesterday? Who did I do the show with?
No.
Who was on?
Now,
Where were
because
you?
you could confuse me with Pablo only if you were, I don't know, blind. You know?
Pablo. It must have been Pablo. I
Must
thought
have
it
been.
was you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Boy, you're
What
really
happens?
in trouble,
You get
aren't you?
old. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Joel Embiid ponders his future. A Big 12 coach calls out Dion. And Steph Curry wants to shoot threes against Sabrina Ionescu. But we begin today with the best baseball player in the world, Shohei Ohtani, hitting another home run last night, his 35th, as the Angels beat the Yankees. Ohtani is now on pace for 60 homers. Wilbon, can you see him getting it?
Yeah, why not? I mean, Tony, it's clear there's nothing that seems beyond Shohei, right? I mean, he can do anything. He may not get there this year, but he can start and win 15, maybe 17 games as a starter, and he can hit 60. I mean, why wouldn't he? The thing he hasn't really done so far is hit for average, but he's got that now. What is he, like 306, 308? So he's even pushing his average up, even, sort of in the prime of his career already, physical prime. He's getting better. And so, yeah, look at this. The one thing is ballpark. You know how I like to take shots at the great Yankee Stadium, having a couple of, 190-foot, sand wedge fences down each line. So Judge had that, and let's face it, Judge can hit him out of anywhere, but I like to make fun.
Yes, he can.
But in the AL, and particularly in the AL East, I think Judge had an advantage over Shohei, who's got ballparks like, I don't know, Oakland, which is a mausoleum. I mean, it's hard to get balls out of there, and he's got to play games on the road there in his own home park. In Anaheim is not some home run paradise. He doesn't have a launching pad. He doesn't have a place where balls just fly out like the Rockies. So I think he can, because I wouldn't put it past him. I think it's going to be harder, though, than it was for Judge.
So I definitely think he can get to 60. Every game I have ever watched him play, however many they are, it's not a tremendous sample. Every time he hits the ball, he hits it hard. He's got that natural uppercut swing. So when you see him hit it, you assume he's going to take it out. More interesting to me is, who is he going to hit 60 for? Are the Angels going to keep him, or are the Angels going to trade him? If he hits 60 for another team, how incredibly stupid the Angels are going to look. I understand,
yes, I
Mike. I understand that if he walks at the end of the season, the Angels would get nothing. But if I ran the Angels, I would not trade him. In the subject of Ohtani, I now wonder how many ball players of the last 30 or 40 years, guys in their 50s and 60s now, say, I wonder if I could have done that. They would never have let me do that. I was a pitcher in high school. I was the best hitter in high school, but they all said at the majors, you can't do it. And now kids in high school are thinking to themselves, maybe I can do it. Just as a very small side note, Mike, by losing that game last night, the Yankees fell into last place, undisputed last, in the AL East for the first time since, 1990. That's 33 years. Now they're above 500. It's a killer division. They would be in first place in the AL Central, but you and I both know there used to be an owner named Steinbrenner there who would not have stood for this. Would not have stood for this in late July.
Yeah.
No.
Everybody in a suit and everybody in the dugout, you're fired.
Yeah.
Let's move to Joel Embiid's curious comment. At an event the other day, Embiid told uninterrupted CEO Maverick Carter, quote, I just want to win a championship, whatever it takes. I don't know where that's going to be, whether it's in Philly or anywhere else, close quote. Embiid later implied he was trolling, but, Tony, should Sixers GM Daryl Morey be a little concerned, or not at all concerned with Embiid's comment?
I think he should be concerned, definitely. This is his best player. This is the MVP of the entire league, openly courting some other team to give him a chance to win a championship. Let's go over that quote a little bit, parts of it. I just want to win a championship. I don't know where it's going to be. I just want to have a chance to accomplish that. Am I on the moon here? This guy has never gotten to the conference finals. He has never won a Game 7. He's 0-3. The last Game 7 he had, because they had to play a Game 7 even though they were up 3-2 on the Celtics in the playoffs. They had to play a Game 7. He had 15 points, 8 rebounds, and shot 5 for 18. And he just wants a chance to win a championship. He's had chances to win a championship with good teammates. He has come up small. You're always yelling at me, Mike, that I don't give him enough credit. I'd like you to tell me what exactly he has won while he has been the best player on that team.
He hadn't won anything, but he ain't going to win it by himself. Just like great players that you love who couldn't win by themselves. And
he's got to win a Game 7.
Okay, but what this is aimed at is James Harden. If they're going to trade James Harden away, what are they going to get back to help Embiid? Because he's not going to win it himself, particularly at a dependent position, Tony, which is more dependent by the day when people run fast breaks, even 3-on-2 and 2 guys peel to the corner. That's not going to be Embiid, and he's not going to win that way in this time and place without at least one great teammate. Now, we don't know whether the Sixers are going to be successful in trading Harden or not. Harden has asked for a trade. Daryl Morey, the GM, president of ops, whatever the title is for Daryl Morey, has said we'd like James to change his mind and stay. But if Harden goes, don't tell me that they're going to get rid of Maxey, who I think is and ought to be their second best player as he gets older and moves into his physical prime. Don't tell me they're ready to win now. Even in the East, that's weakened to me because I don't think the Celtics are as good, and I don't think Milwaukee's as good anymore. So it's open.
They're not ready to win now.
There's a lane for Philly. Well, there's a lane for them to get to the finals.
They're not ready to win now. But Embiid, when he says, I was just kidding, I don't know why anybody would believe him. He's under contract, I believe, until 2027. And in 2023, he's openly courting teams to go after him.
I don't see it that
honestly,
way.
I don't
think that's openly courting.
Think the Nets
if you're openly
are a
courting,
disaster?
you do what Harden did.
They're a disaster.
You say trade
They're
me.
a disaster. Harden
your
wants
position
out,
is
and
well
Embiid is agitated, and they fired a coach.
All you want to do is take shots at Embiid, even though he's better than a lot of players you love, and defend and make excuses for.
He hasn't won
like Harden.
a thing.
Neither is Harden.
He hasn't won
and you make excuses for him.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, Mike. He's the best player in the league. He won the MVP, and he can't win a Game 7.
He did.
We moved to college football. Your boy Brent Venables, second-year coach at Oklahoma, has taken a shot at Deion Sanders for turning over his entire roster in his first year at Colorado. Venables praised himself for giving his holdover players a chance, and then he told OU Nightly Sports, quote, I wasn't a guy like Deion who gave guys a bunch of pink slips. I gave guys 12 months of grace to go to class, live right off the field, and show up with a great urgency and respect for your opportunity, unquote. Now, Oklahoma's gotten rid of 21 players this year. Deion has just 10 players remaining from Colorado's 85 scholarship players last year. Will Bonda Venables' comments make him look better or worse?
Well, you're asking me for my opinion on Venables. It makes him look like a sanctimonious college loudmouth, know-it-all college football coach who doesn't like Deion. And so let me talk about who I do and don't like. Deion's out there. Deion's way out there like Saturn's rings with what he's doing in his approach. And I'm going to root for him so hard you would think his last name was Wilbon, to beat all these loudmouth, sanctimonious, self-righteous college football coaches who dislike Deion for whatever reasons. I have my own suspicions. And they don't like Deion. They want to take shots at Deion. I am rooting so hard for Deion. He better win, though, because Deion's way out there. He's way out there. But I'm rooting for him hard. I may go and buy season tickets at Colorado to go and sit in the stands and root for Deion to beat people like the loudmouth, sanctimonious Venables.
So Venables was 6-7 last year, and now he's calling it a grace year. I think that's the first time Oklahoma had a losing record, I believe, in 24 years, and somehow he has set himself up as Mahatma Gandhi. I don't really understand this.
Or Newt
Here's
Rockne,
Deion.
either one.
Deion got hired by Colorado after they were 1-11. I can't imagine that Deion didn't say to the people who are hiring him, we're flipping everybody out of here.
Yeah.
We're taking a new approach. This is how we're going to do it. Now, 1-11 last year. If he wins 3 games this year, that's probably terrific. Venables inherited an 11-2 squad and went 6-7. So if Deion were to win 3 or 4, Venables needs to shut up. But we're going to know, Mike. If Deion goes 1-11 and 2-10, we're going to know. And if he does well with the people he brings in, we're going to know as well. If I were Venables, I'd worry about the fact that Colorado was on my border at Oklahoma, and all those Colorado kids, I could just, do a whistle and bring them into school. Maybe they want to play for Deion now. Let's take a break. Coming up, is Rory McIlroy or Novak Djokovic more likely to win his last major of the year?
And how would Steph Curry fare against Sabrina Ionescu in a 3-point shooting contest?
It's not like Deion has a secret approach. You know what he's going to do. He says what he's going to do.
Venables hasn't sanctioned it because I guess he has to give his permission. I can't wait.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Corona. Welcome back to Pardon the Interruption, presented by Corona, part of Happy Hour.
It's time for toss-up. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, finishes the show, realizes that he'd really like to be in New York with Wilbon right now, but vows to never reveal that publicly. What's first?
Toss-up, more likely to win his final major of the year, Rory McIlroy or Novak Djokovic?
The answer is Novak Djokovic, because tennis tournaments are much more predictable than golf tournaments, especially on the major level. In the last 20 years, the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, and the number 3 seed in the men's draw almost always gets to the finals. Do you realize that Djokovic and Nadal and Federer have won 65 of the last 80 majors? So I understand that Alcaraz is number 1, but Djokovic is number 2, and he is likely, to me, to get to the finals and have a chance to win. That's not the same in golf. I mean, you got to beat everybody in the field in golf, not just the guy standing in front of you and people who you don't know, like Danny Willett and Gary Woodland and Wyndham Clark. They've won majors. Rory hasn't won a major since 2014. Djokovic won 2 this year.
Yeah,
it's Djokovic.
Yeah. I know Gary Woodland. Come on now. He's a hooper. In addition, Tony, there's 40 guys who can beat Rory. At least 40. I mean, I'm not taking anybody against the field in today's PGA. No, there's a ton of guys who can and most likely will beat Rory. There's Medvedev, there's Alcaraz, there's Tsitsipas, there's a handful of guys who could beat Joker, and he may not, as you just said, have to beat them specifically. He may not even have to beat more than 1 or 2 of the guys I just named, maybe 2 max. So no,
he may have to beat
Joker.
Alcaraz. Right, but
we would think. We would think he'd have to beat Alcaraz. We don't see Alcaraz being upset very early. And if he even have to beat Alcaraz and Medvedev, even if it did 2 of them. But like you said, Rory has got to beat a bunch of dudes who have won majors since Rory won one 9 years ago. So the answer, yes, Joker very well could win. Yeah.
Next.
Toss-up, who would you take in a 3-point shooting contest? Steph Curry or Sabrina Ionescu?
Okay, so this comes about because Ionescu blitzed through the WNBA 3-point shooting contest, and I think Curry said yesterday, probably when you were hanging out and having dinner with him, I think Curry said something like, we got to settle this, we got to see who's a better competitive shooter, and they're pals. It's got to be said they're pals.
Total admiration
my feeling
society.
Is,
mutual.
Ionescu, she hit 25 of 27 threes in the final round. At one point, she hit 20 in a row. If she's shooting from the spot she's supposed to shoot from in the WNBA, why would you think she has no chance? I mean, look, honestly, I would pick Curry because I think Curry is the greatest shooter that I've ever seen. But of course, Ionescu has a chance. They're unguarded. Yeah. They're just taking threes. This is not the long drive contest. It's not. She has a chance.
Tony, it's interesting. And yes, I'm in New York in large part to have gone to see underrated Steph Curry's new doc, which was a little screening last night. So I was fortunate to be there. Shout out to Steph. And First of all, we talked about him dropping that putt. I mean, what you watched. And he is not upset when people compare it to winning a game with a 3 in the NBA or a championship. And I'm saying to him, what are you talking about? He is not ashamed of that comparison or find it insulting or any of that. Maybe he's just being too gracious. Look, Tony, I've been on the court, standing on the court, toes on the court, when Steph Curry has hit 43s in a row. Seen it. I mean, now, this is going into a playoff game. Maybe not the finals. Maybe it was a conference finals or a semifinal. I've seen him do this multiple times. I know Sabrina Ionescu probably does the same thing. So this would be great, and this is why there's a mutual love fest, and they each talk about how great a shooter the other is. But I ain't picking anybody. And I was with Chris Mullin last night, too, another one of our favorite shooters of all time. And if it was Mullin and Curry, man, I still think, I don't want to say this too loud, Mullin might hear me, but I think I'm taking Steph over everybody ever.
Don't worry about it. Mullin doesn't watch. That's the final word.
Yes,
Let's take one last break. Still to come. The date of Lionel Messi's debut for Inter Miami is set.
And I wonder if he can get a table at Prime 112 yet, because, nobody knows him in the grocery store. Maybe he can have a steak on Miles. And a member of the Reds ground crew gets swallowed up by a tarp.
You can't take anybody over Curry. I mean, you just honestly can't.
No.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Corona. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, Pete. Happy 83rd birthday, Joe Torre. Torre's career in baseball is rather like Jerry West's in basketball. Torre was a terrific player. He caught mostly, but also played first and third for 3 different franchises, the Braves, Cardinals, and Mets, all of whom he later managed. He's a 9-time All-Star, the NL MVP in 1971 when he won the batting title, hitting .363. His greatest managerial success came with the Yankees, where he won 4 World Series titles and 6 pennants. He then managed the Dodgers, and after that went into the league office. Torre has been employed in Major League Baseball since 1960. Earlier this year, Baseball Digest gave Torre its Lifetime Achievement Award, joining other recipients Willie Mays and Vince Scully.
That's some company, Tony. And I think of Joe Torre as being that kind of honorable. And I hated Joe Torre when he was a member of the Cardinals, because I'm supposed to hate the Cardinals, all of them. But Joe Torre, he's done so much and has been so accomplished and brings honor to the game and the profession. So cheers to him.
Happy anniversary, Don Mattingly. On this day 36 years ago, the Yankee first baseman tied the Major League record when he hit a home run in an 8th consecutive game. The record was originally set by Dale Long of the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1956 and was tied one other time since Mattingly by Ken Griffey Jr. in 1993. Mike Trout was the latest of several players to homer 7 straight games when he did so in 2022. The team record for consecutive games with at least 1 home run is 31, set by the Yankees in 2019. The Braves just had their home run streak stopped at 28.
So it's impossible for me to think of Don Mattingly without thinking of my dear friend Grant Hill, because for the first 7 years for each of them, they were otherworldly. I mean, they could have been in that short list of greatest of all time, and then the injuries sort of changed the routing, the direction. They were still great, but would have been all-timers. Mattingly, wow.
Happy trails to a member of the Reds grounds crew. A Cincinnati grounds crew member got swallowed up by the tarp last night as the Reds prepared for a rain delay in the 8th inning at Great American Ballpark. You can spot where it happened towards the middle of the unfolding tarp. Hunter Pence, doing color for the visiting Giants, screamed, "Mayday! He got eaten by the tarp!" Eventually, the grounds crew member extricated himself and got back to work. Wilbon, remember when the Cardinals' Vince Coleman got rolled over by an automatic tarp in the 1985 LCS?
Yes. And you just think and he got hurt to a degree, but that's got to be scary as hell under that tarp. I mean, suppose you were small and you got really lost and nobody knew you were there. Ooh.
Well, I think if you were really small, you wouldn't be on the grounds crew at that point.
Maybe. You could be strong.
I don't think you have to worry about that. But people look like little moles as they try and get out.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Don't want to be near the tarp.
We're running out of show. We go to the big finish. Cristiano Ronaldo says the Saudi League is better than MLS. Does that make sense to you?
I don't know that I believe it, but it's a league that's spending a lot of money on aging great players. You know, MLS does that too, not as much as the NASL, but they've all done it to a degree. I don't know. Lionel Messi, unrecognizable in Miami supermarkets, will debut for Inter Miami Friday. You excited?
I'm tremendously excited. I'm thinking of going down there and sitting with Levitard and watching the game. What do you think? The Cavs beat the Rockets to win the Summer League. I know you're impressed by that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Isaiah Mobley at 28-11 for the Cavaliers, you know, maybe he'll make the team with his brother. Cam Whitmore is the guy you got to pay attention to. He was the MVP of the Summer League on the Rockets now. Villanova dropped in the draft. The A's have lost 8 straight. Goodness. Again, your thoughts?
Yeah, they had that brief winning streak, but now they're on pace to only win 42 games. They're a terrible team. Last one, the Browns will wear white helmets twice this season. Is that all right with you?
You know, Tony, I'm told they wore them for the first 6 years until 1950. They won 5 championships in those years, including the 1950 NFL championship with Otto Graham.
Yeah.
I guess.
Otto Graham wore a white helmet.
Yeah, I don't see it, but okay. It's good.
Yeah, Otto Graham wore a white helmet. I didn't know that. We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, here's SportsCenter.
I think of the Brown helmet and Jim Brown.
PTI.
All right, Wilbon. Which team is more likely to three-peat? Georgia football or the United States women's national team?
Tony, this is really difficult. I mean, the United States team, women's soccer team, national team, is the best team in the world, period. And, you know, they've obviously done this twice. And they're the usual suspects up there that figure to challenge them: England, France, Spain, Germany. And we're told the host nation, Australia, although I got to sort of see that, you know, to believe in host nation. But, Tony, then I look at football. And Georgia, you're in the SEC. So you're going to have teams come up and challenge you. Alabama automatically. We're told LSU. I don't know how good Tennessee's going to be. And I don't know if anybody's going to come back, you know, back from the back of the pack. But Georgia's going to start the season as the favorite. But, man, 3 in a row when you got to go through Alabama, and you got also some controversy to get over on your own campus, and how do you survive that? I'm going to say the women's national soccer team.
Yeah, this to me is really apples and oranges, because
It is.
All I know about the Women's World Cup is that we're really good. Right? I don't know the level of competition at all, so there's nothing I can say that's going to sound intelligent. I do understand the level of competition that Georgia faces within its own conference, leading off with Alabama and certainly LSU, not to speak of teams from the Big Ten or the Big 12 or any place else as you go through the playoffs. So I think that's hard. And what makes it harder for me is that this is college. This isn't the pros where you can sign people and keep them for 4, 5, 6, 8 years. Your best players are leaving on an annual basis, and you have to replace them. To win 3 in a row in college football, to me, seems absolutely extraordinary. It's very hard to bet on that.
Tony.
Right?
It would be.
Yeah.
And you know, you got a new quarterback because Stetson Bennett's not there anymore.
He's
so,
out.
I mean, how much
He's
of
like
that team
50
is
years
being,
old.
you know, remade? And you know what? It is apples and oranges, but it's a interesting little comparison that we should keep tabs on.
Yeah.
That's it. We're done. Back to you.